Welcome back to the Finca, everyone. I'm sat in my beautiful kitchen. We get asked a lot of questions in the comments about lime, its uses, why you should use it, how to use it. So in this video I'm going to try and answer as many questions as possible.
Welcome to Finca Live. We're Sharon and Andy, just two people with a dream and a vision of restoring our traditional stone-built farmhouse in southern Spain, transforming it into a beautiful off-grid home and sharing our journey with you.
So firstly, why should we use lime? In old solid construction walls, either stone or brick, the walls, they generally have no damp course or anything like that. They're just there, built straight off the floor like this one, and they need to breathe. The lime sort of acts, lime and lime mortar, which we'll go into in further detail shortly, acts as like the lungs of the wall. It allows moisture to enter, pass through the wall. You know, when it gets wet outside, the stones and everything, the mortar will absorb moisture. If you point them with cement, if they're built with cement, the cement doesn't allow moisture to pass through and therefore traps it in the wall, making it very bad. It can cause the surface of the stones to crack. It can cause condensation inside because the moisture can't be absorbed into the wall. A whole load of complications. There's lots and lots of information on the internet about this. You know, a search will turn a lot of it up, but essentially that's the reason. Plus the lime is softer than cement, and believe it or not, walls do expand and contract and stuff. The cement doesn't. It can leave cracks around the stones, which again can allow water in, which the cement, because it can't breathe, will trap inside your wall, making it damp. Whereas the lime will breathe. It's a lot softer and much better for your walls. As I say, loads of information out there. I don't want to go into all that sort of stuff in this video, just more about why we're using lime and how to use it. One of the best examples I can give you, however, is this room. This is going to be our bathroom one day eventually. You can see that, I mean, this wall is still damp now. It's drying out a bit, but it was damp, such to the extent that it's hollow. Everything behind it's loose up to sort of up there. It's crept round the corner into the front wall, and it's damp that's been entered into the wall and been trapped in the wall. And in this example, you know why? Because it's been pointed with cement on the other side. Which you can see there, not only pointed, almost rendered. That cement, that is directly back to back with that wall where it just was a minute ago. Every other wall in the house, like this, it's got a little bit at the bottom. It's understandable, it's 150 years old, it's the original plaster, but every other wall is totally dry and totally functional because it's original, it's not had cement put on it. Again, this wall in the kitchen was damp. It had been plastered internally with some kind of gypsum based plaster, which again is nearly as bad as cement, and it had trapped the water inside the wall. We cleaned it all off, there's videos on it. It took weeks and weeks and weeks. There's a lot of effort involved. Pointed it all up, and now it's absolutely bone dry, and this wall is completely and totally underground. Ground levels that are probably about a foot or so higher than the top of this wall, but it's absolutely, completely and totally bone dry because I repointed it with lime. It dried out, and it's lovely. It's a lovely, warm, comfortable, fresh, not damp environment. So it's quite a contentious topic. In Spain here, certainly, builders for some reason, and a lot of builders for some reason, are totally averse to using lime in building and repointing and plastering, whatever reason and whatever use is required. You see Spanish houses, they're all generally tiled like laboratories inside all the rooms, not just the kitchen. You know, the house we used to live in down by the coast, it was totally tiled, almost floor to ceiling in every room in the house. They do it to keep the damp out. Same on the outside, they'll put stones, clad the outside of the wall with stones or tiles or whatever, up to sort of this kind of height, to hide the damp. What happens eventually, of course, they can't keep the damp out because the walls can't breathe, it gets trapped in the walls and it pushes these things off the walls, and you see it all the time, everywhere you go, and it doesn't take long either. So the answer is to use lime. We're going to show you how to do it and explain a little bit more about it. This is another wall that's completely underground in our old corral. Right, so there are different types of lime. You've got hydrated lime, which is our preferred choice. You mix it with water, apply it, and then it slowly, it does its initial step, and then it slowly carbonates off to form calcium hydroxide, which is this rock hard, rock-like stuff that you can see on here, and it does revert back to being rock, of course, because that's what it started off as. You can also get what's called hydraulic limes, NHLs. They come in basically in 3 different hardnesses, 2.5, 3.5 and 5, or is it NHL2, I'm not exactly sure. We don't like it, we don't use it, tend not to use it. It does have its uses. We've used it on the floors, for example, because hydraulic lime will set like cement underwater even, or it'll do its initial set underwater. It then has to start the carbonation process, but it's a lot faster to work with, and it will go off as soon as it gets water put to it. It will start to set even underwater like cement. We don't like it. We prefer to use the oldest traditional hydrated lime. It's a joy to work with. The end results are fantastic. The breathability, the softness, the structure, everything is just working so well, and I say it's our preferred thing. We had a bit of trouble doing NHL on the floors. It was actually going off in the mixer. It's probably a normal barrel cement mixer is probably not the way to mix it. Well, it definitely isn't. So hydrated lime is our first choice. Additionally, lime is also massively more environmentally friendly than cement. Cement, I can't remember the exact figures, but it's responsible for a huge and unbelievable amount of the CO2 produced in the world. Lime, of course, produces CO2 when it's made in the manufacturing process, but lime actually absorbs CO2 back from the atmosphere when it goes through its carbonation process. So another plus for lime. Another reason we prefer the hydrated lime, or calcium hydroxide, or slaked lime, it's got a million names, is because there's recently been concerns about NHL, natural hydraulic lime, about its long-term breathability. Further studies are apparently being conducted into it. So, better the devil we know, good old trusty calcium hydroxide in Spanish. It's available in Spain. Most the big merchants don't seem to sell it at all, you know, the big chain stores and stuff, but most of the smaller merchants, builders, suppliers will get it for you. This is made by Grupo Puma. It's a massive group, and they do all sorts of other stuff as well, so it's very easy for any smaller merchants to get you some of this if you want it. This is how we get it. Comes in 12 kilo bags. Also here are other types of lime, hot lime, lime putty, all great, doesn't concern us here. We're just sticking with our traditional method. We find it's the easiest to use. We've got lime putty in these 2 vats here. We use it for lime wash. Basically it's just the lime poured in and then covered with water. It'll stay like that forever. It never goes off. Well, certainly for years. Some of this stuff's been here a couple of years now. Still perfect. Makes a lovely paint anytime you need it. We did a video on it if you want to learn more about that. Just have a search for how to make lime wash, I think it was called. on our channel, and I'm sure it'll come up. But the simplest, easiest way, which I'm going to show you, is just to use the dry bag powdered lime and sand to make a mortar. So we just buy bag sand. It's quite a coarse sand, quite a sharp sand. Different sands, different colours of sand will all give you different textures, different finishes, etc. So when you start, if you want your whole house to look the same, you need to make sure you use the same sand all the way through it. So measures and mixes. We tend to use probably about a third or 3-to-1 mix. 1 part lime, 3 parts sand. You can go down to a 4-to-1 mix. We've done that with no problems at all. We use this little calibrated measure. That's by volume as well and not by weight. We have this little calibrated tub which is full with sand, and it's got a mark on it there to the level we put the lime into. It's quick and easy. We only make small mixes because it takes a long time to use it up when you're pointing. A mix this size will take about an hour. So what we'll do, we'll fill this up with sand, they'll just say that, and then tip that in the bucket and fill it up to line to our calibrated third mark. A 4-to-1 mix will give you a drier mix, again depending on how much water you put in it. If you want a stickier mix, say we find a 3-to-1 works lovely. If you want a stickier mix, you can go down to 2 parts sand to 1 part lime. I mean, we've stuck stones to the ceiling and stuff on arches and things underneath because it's that sticky. It's fantastic stuff. You just wet it down and up it goes, it stays there, set solid, never fall down. So let's get a mix on. So in goes the sand, just like that. Next, the lime. We always mix it outside because the dust off it isn't very pleasant and probably not very good for you. And then give it a good mix dry. It's just a mixer thing in a drill. The cheapest drill we could find. Once you've got it mixed, dry, start to add the water. We kind of know how much water to add initially. Doing it for about 30 years. It'll depend as well, there's no set amount of water to add. It'll depend how dry your sand is, etc. And then mix. You want to mix it thoroughly for 10 minutes or so at least until you've got all the white specks of lime out of it. Bearing in mind, if you want to add more water, do it really slowly, because the tiniest drop when it's mixed can turn it into, well, too wet basically. For pointing, we want a kind of dryish mix. Sort of something like that. It sticks together, isn't crumbly, just nice that. If you're using hydrated lime, hydraulic lime, NHL, depending on the lime that you're using, you might need to leave it for 10-15 minutes and then knock it back again, add a bit more water to it. They're all a little bit different, but with the hydrated lime it's pretty much a one shot. What it is what it is. That'll stay like that now for a good hour. If it does start to dry up, if it's hot and sunny, which it isn't particularly today, you can always add a little bit more water to it. It's not a problem at all. Whereas cement and stuff, to wet it up a bit more, kinda doesn't work. It does work, but it doesn't work because it's already begun its mechanical set. Whereas the hydrated lime, it doesn't matter. You can just keep adding water to it, knock it back again, and it's still good to go. So this is what we've been working on for quite some time. We started it before we did the floor. What you want to do, make sure that it's clean, there's no dust. Normally we'd vacuum it, this has been like this for ages. We've rebuilt most of this, so it's all got good mortar inside it, but you want to make sure you get all the dust out of it. And then we use a pressure sprayer, wet it down. That helps the lime to absorb into the stones, little area at a time because it dries out. And then take your mortar and literally press it right into the joints, deep in. There are various tools you can use for this, of course, depending on the type of stone. With these random rubble stones, they're all, some are rounded, some are square, some are flat, the joints aren't defined. It's easier to just push it in by hand. Of course, if you've got courses, you can get a variety of tools that you can use to stick it in, but for this particular application, hand is the best way. If you get holes that are too big, for example, like we've got a hole there, too much mortar to go in there, you want to find a stone, ideally called a pinning stone, that you can tap in, that will touch the other stones. To fill that up, wet your stone down when you put it in, give it a good tap in on a blob of mortar in there. In fact, I'll do it now. I'll find a stone. So I've got a suitable stone here, and I shall tap in there very nicely. We want to again make sure it's wet, make sure the stone's wet and clean. I normally have them in a bucket of water, sat there ready, soaking up, but for this purpose we'll do it this way. Get a bit of mortar in there, get your stone, give it a tap like that, clean off the excess and carry on. On this particular type of stone, I like to sort of blend the surfaces of the stones, kind of how it was done originally. I want it to look as original as possible. Originally they actually smeared a lot more over the stones, but I kind of like to see them more. Don't be concerned too much about the finish at the moment. You just want to get your mortar in, and we'll deal with that in a minute, well, in a little bit. Won't be a minute, but it takes forever. So when you're done, you'll have all kinds of marks, no doubt, in the surface of it. In this case, glove marks and things. You can either take a stiffish brush. You need to wait, actually, I should say, until it's gone dry enough to, so you're not going to disturb it, and you can just blend the surface off. A gloved hand does it equally as well, and literally just rub the marks out of it. A brush is obviously a bit easier on your fingers. Oh, I missed a little bit there. I'll get that in a minute. I might have a scraping in my bucket. So yeah, just go over it, blend it all in. You may get some shrinkage cracks in the deeper parts. Doesn't matter, just rub them out at this point. And then, like so on. There we go, got quite a bit done there. When it's dry, it'll look like that up there. I've just got the bottom to do. I'll carry on with that at my leisure. If you're using lime mortar, you want to avoid at all costs a frost. Just avoid it. And same, you want to avoid high temperatures, probably over 30 degrees C as well. If the wall that you're working on is in direct sunlight, you might need to damp it down, stop it drying out too quickly. Again, best to just avoid it. And if, of course, rain as well isn't good for it. Once it's on its initial set, it should take a little, a fair amount of rain. otherwise it will just wash down the wall. You can sheet it over, cover it up or whatever, but best to just avoid it. So the last thing is, what does it cost? To turn a wall, a plastered wall like that, or a rough wall, or a wall that needs cleaning off and raking out, it's time more than anything, massive amount of time. The actual cost in materials, probably a bag of lime, a 12 kilo bag of lime is about €7, and the equivalent sort of 3 bags of sand-ish that go with it, about 80 cents a piece. We'll do, I don't know, easily 10 metres of just pointing, but if you wanted to start from a wall that's plastered like that, with whatever it's plastered with, clean it all off, rake out all the joints and put it back, fill in any gaps and everything, I'd be wanting about €260 a square metre. A massive amount of money it costs because it takes so long to do it, but again, if you do it yourself, you can do it for peanuts or beans, however you want to describe it. So there you go. Over time, through nature and the weather and etc., the natural colour of the stones will come out. So a lot of those stones have been sort of half rendered over with the old original stuff. It should let them breathe now, let them air. They should look beautiful as time goes on. Should last another 100 years or so, maybe more, who knows, I probably won't be around to find out. So I hope that's helped answer some of your questions and inspired you, and maybe you've learned something from it, taken something from it, I hope. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. You are full of hopefully useful tips on renovating traditional old buildings. We're actually doing one ourselves and taking you through the full process. Thanks to everyone that supported the channel. If you've enjoyed the video, give us a like, and we'll be back at it on the next one.